Question: is clickbait inherently bad? Because we've all seen those videos on our feed. You know, the ones that you won't believe what happens next. Actually, no, sorry. That wasn't dramatic enough. The videos that go, you won't believe what happens next! Exclamation mark, question mark, emoji, shock, expressive, can't believe what I'm saying, never happened before, oh my god! Those videos. And of course the thumbnail is them looking shocked with a Gaussian blur with a red circle or something. So that really took it out of me, wow. It's not a good idea to record first thing in the morning. Oh! But the circle, the thumbnail is like a Gaussian blurred picture of them with a shocked emotion on their face and a red circle and a red arrow pointing. And it's shocking, you have to watch to find out what it is. And then you click on the video and the shocking reveal is... The shocking reveal is... skip. The shocking reveal in the video that I wouldn't believe is... oh, the video ended. Maybe I missed it. Give me like 10 minutes to watch this video.
20 minutes later.
Okay, I've watched through this shocking video that I wouldn't believe with a shocked emotion on the thumbnail. And I can tell you the shocking reveal was... The shocking reveal in the video... I don't think there was a shocking reveal in the video. I think that thumbnail was just, you know, extremely over-exaggerated and made up to make you click on the video. Or of course the newest version, which by the time I'm recording this is actually quite old, which is the wait for it thing, which... Let's just be honest with each other. That's not clickbait. That's just lying and wasting your time. It's just tricking you into watching something meaningless that has no effort put into it just to get the watch time and inflate the uploader's most likely already massive ego. And if you feel offended by me calling you out on that and you do that, yeah, you've just proved my point. And don't get me wrong, I get why people do this. One group of people does just want the ego boost of going, look how great I am. I've got all this watch time and view. Look at all this engagement on my videos. I'm so fantastic, aren't I great? I'm better than you because I've got people to watch my videos. Even though most of the comments are just saying that the video wasted their time. But in that case, then we just, hide the comments. But hey, they still get all that engagement and I'm so great because my watch time is amazing. And hey, the way people used to be able to convey the fact that they disliked the video and they wasted their time was through this made up magical button that did a thing called the dislike button that, never existed at all or anything. Also, on a serious note, did you know YouTube removed their dislike button video? I'm making a whole video on it, but there is a topic to be discussed there, and YouTube is actively trying to rewrite history. And that makes me legitimately mad. Instead of saying, hey, we removed a feature that was good, and now, you can't use it anymore, they're saying, nah, there was never a dislike number visible. You're crazy. That feature was never in it. I'm making the video on it. But yeah, after this video, if it's uploaded by that time, watch it because I think it's one of the more important videos I'm ever going to make. Also, if you do want to see the dislike number, there is a free Chrome extension on Chrome where you can click it to, be able to see the dislike button number because it doesn't actually change anything. You should just remove it from the public for reasons. They say it's for the creator's health, but I don't think that's true. It could be for another reason, but what could that be? Moving on. I don't want to get into that topic in this video. Let's continue talking about clickbait, shall we? The other group of people who use the wait for it thing are creators who genuinely are normally new to the platform, who genuinely feel that they have something to share with the world and want to get their content out there as fast as possible. So do what is currently getting views, which is, in this case, the wait for it thing. And I don't think this is inherently bad. I think this comes from a place of misinformation where they don't understand how the platform works. Yes, they may grow through using this, and anyone that does use this method, yes, chances are you will get a lot of watch time on your channel. But overall, your channel will be built on a very unstable foundation. You will get watch time, you will get engagement, and you will get comments. However, most of the comments will be telling you that you've wasted their time, and most of the people who have watched your video will not come back for your actual content. They're only watching it because they think they're getting something out of it. So even if you have 1 million subscribers, if only 1% of them actually watching, that's still 10,000, so that's actually quite a good number. Point being, only a small majority of your audience would actually be watching, therefore the foundation of your channel, no matter how large, is very unstable. If only 1% of your community is actually there, that is not a solid foundation, and your channel will crumble just as quickly as it grew, if not faster. Growth on YouTube or any entertainment growth in general is hard, period. I've been making videos for over 8 years at this point, and I'm only just now finding what I actually want to do. There have been so many times throughout my YouTube career, my years of making content, where I could have gone with the viral trend, I could have taken the shortcuts, I could have done the quick view things, but I knew if I did that, overall it would just damage the channel in the long run. However, I knew if I did take the shortcuts, in the long run, I wouldn't have created the channel that I wanted to make. Maybe that was the right thing to do, maybe it wasn't. Maybe not taking those shortcuts and virality trends will screw me over in the long run. I don't know. But circling back around to the main question, is the wait for it actually clickbait? Technically yes, as it baited you into watching their video and clicking on it, giving them watch time. Therefore, they have clickbaited you. But what tier of clickbait does it fall under? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Hi, hello, welcome to the video. My name's Danahan and this is Overthinking Media, where today we're discussing the many layers of clickbait. Because I believe there are definitely different levels and different criteria for clickbait. I believe there are definitely different levels when it comes to clickbait. For instance, is this level of clickbait more acceptable than this level of clickbait? Is all clickbait created equal? Are cliffhangers technically clickbait? And can this really be considered clickbait? If we look at the official definition of clickbait on Wikipedia, the finest source of credible information on the internet, it defines it as content whose main purpose is to attract attention and encourage visitors to click on a link to a particular web page, which in itself is not a bad thing. However, by that definition, the vast amount of thumbnails on the platform would be considered clickbait, as almost every thumbnail on the platform has the main job of saying, looky here, doesn't this video look interesting? Don't you want to come click on this video and see what it's about? Come on. Because one of the biggest hurdles on the platform is actually getting someone to click on your video. Doesn't matter how good your content is, doesn't matter how funny you are, doesn't matter how amazing your effects are, doesn't matter how good your audio is. If no one clicks on your video, no one's going to watch it. And you have to compete with the literally millions of other videos already on the platform, as well as the literally millions of other creators doing just the same thing as you. And the also millions, there are a lot of creators on the platform, the additional millions of already well-established creators who may or may not be already in your niche that you are technically competing against. According to Google, almost 500 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube every single minute. Not day, not hour, minute. 500 hours of content you're competing against every single minute, which is 5,000 hours every 10 minutes, which is 30,000 every hour, which is 300,000 every 10 hours, which is 600,000 every 20 hours, which is 720,000 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every single day. I'm going to do the maths on that real quick because I think I might be 72,000. No, I was right. Yeah, 720,000 hours of content uploaded to YouTube every single day. That's 5,040,000 hours of content every week. And 262,080,000 hours a year. And you have to compete with that. And YouTube's been going for, what, 15 years at this point? 2006, 4, 10, 18 years. Which means, on average, you're competing with, how much is that? 4,717,440,000 hours of content. And with every day, that increases. And even when your video does appear on someone's suggestion feed, it has to compete with the literally dozens of other videos also on the feed, most of which are probably from creators they've already watched, so are more likely to click on their video as opposed to yours. As I said a minute ago, your channel may have the best content ever made for that particular viewer. It could be the holy grail of their content that they never want to watch anything else. That is the best content they're ever going to see. But if they don't click on it, they're never going to know. And if they're given the choice between clicking on a video they already know from a creator they're already subscribed to, or a random video with a few hundred views that they've never seen before, they're most likely going to click on the established creator. However, the video with the few hundred views is the best video on the platform ever made for them. This is why you need to make your thumbnails eye-catching, enticing. One could even say baiting of one's click, if they would. Say you're making a video about learning to do a backflip. Titling it something like, I can't believe I managed to do that, is clickbait, as it's baiting the viewer into clicking on your video. However, in no way is this malicious. I'm sure we've all had that moment in our life where we've done something awesome and thought, I can't believe I managed to do that. Such as throwing that piece of rubbish into the bin halfway across the room, or hitting the light switch on the way out and, it perfectly balances right between the thing, or even dropping your phone and catching it before it's the ground. You feel awesome. It's amazing. I can't believe I managed to do that. I'm awesome, right? But in reality, that's not really that impressive. You hit the light switch. Cool. That's like a 1 in 5 chance of happening. You threw something into the bin from across the room. Cool. You can aim. Well done. You know basic mathematics and trigonometry. No, that's not right. What am I thinking of? Not trigonometry. Trajectory. That's what I wanted to say. Basic trajectory. Oh, you call your phone cool. You're so reflective. I mean, that's kind of cool, but it's not like, I can't believe I managed to do that. It's like, oh, neat. However, in that moment, it can feel like, I can't believe I managed to do that. But 5 minutes later, you're like, okay, yeah, cool. I managed to hit the switch and it, perfectly balanced. That was kind of cool, I guess. But once again, in that moment, you can feel like, I can't believe I managed to do that. So titling your video something like, I can't believe I managed to do that, when you pull off your first successful backflip, it really can feel like, I can't believe I managed to do that. Because all the hard work you put into training, all the weeks at the gym, or hours, I don't know, I can't do backflips, I don't know how long it takes to learn to do a backflip, but all that training you put into, and finally you managed to do a backflip, and you're like, yeah! I can't believe I managed to do it, finally, after all the hard work. Even though it is clickbait, it probably wouldn't be considered misleading. This is the base level of clickbait. This is the level I'm going to call baiting the hook clickbait. But what if you were to call that same video, doing this was one of the hardest things I've ever done? It's clearly an exaggeration. It's probably not one of the hardest things you've ever done. However, once again, in that moment, it can feel like it. If you spent 10 hours trying to learn a backflip and you keep failing every time, and then after 10 hours of doing the flip, you finally successfully do the flip. Yeah, it can feel like one of the hardest things you've ever done. For instance, if I were to upload gameplay of Cuphead or Dark Souls or even Undertale, I could justifiably call my video, doing this was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Because, god damn, some of those levels are hard. But was it really one of the hardest things I've ever done? No, not really. Probably wouldn't even crack the top 50. Maybe not even the top 100. It was definitely challenging, but once you learn their patterns, once you understand how they move, it's just about pressing the right buttons in the right order. However, in that moment, once you defeated it, it really can feel like the hardest thing you've ever done. You can spend literal hours on a boss that only takes about 3 minutes to beat. Sans' actual boss fight is actually only about 5 minutes long. The full fight takes about 15 minutes, but 10 minutes of that is literally just dialogue and talking and waiting around and playing the cutscene. But the actual fighting is only about 5 minutes long. However, that battle probably took me half a day. I committed an entire day just that battle. Probably 6-7 hours. And I got so angry at that battle. But when I finally did beat that, one of the thoughts that came from my head was, oh, that was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. But now looking back on it, 7 years later? Yeah, it was challenging, but damn, I have had to do some harder stuff since that in my life. But it's that feeling that once you defeat this challenging, hard boss or event or whatever, once you've achieved this achievement, you get that washover feeling of, I have surpassed a giant hurdle. I have overcome something that eluded me until now. I have grown as a person. And in that moment, it can feel like the hardest thing you've ever had to do because you have focused so much time and energy on doing it. For instance, say you went to a concert. The next day you went to tell your mates about it and you went, oh yeah, it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. It was so cool. It was the coolest thing ever. Really? Was it really the coolest thing you've ever experienced. Sure, it may have been amazing. It may have been rememberable for the rest of your life. It may have been a fantastically great, awesome experience. But was it actually the coolest thing you've ever experienced in your life? Unlikely. Probably not. Maybe it was one of the coolest things you've ever experienced, but was it definitively the coolest thing you've ever experienced? Probably not. However, would one say you are actively lying to your mate for no reason? No, you're just being exaggerative to get across the feeling of how it felt in that moment. The same can be said of the backflip. Yes, perhaps you have spent weeks or maybe just hours practicing, but if you're doing the same thing over and over and failing every single time, that one time when you do finally do it, it can feel like the coolest thing or hardest thing you've ever had to achieve. When all your hard work finally pays off, you feel like you have accomplished something and you feel proud and you feel like you've overcome a massive goal. Even though this is clickbait, once again, much like the first layer, it's not exactly malicious clickbait. While you have exaggerated the truth, you haven't been dishonest about the truth. And I think that's a key difference. Then we get to level 3 of clickbait. And this is where that key difference comes in. Level 3 of clickbait is the technically true level of clickbait. Remaining with the backflip metaphor, in this situation, this level would be titling your video something along the lines of, "I could have died doing this." This is technically true. If you do land a backflip wrong, you can very easily give yourself a concussion, or, though very unlikely, snap your neck, which in turn would lead to your death, which in turn would make the title technically true. It is technically true. I could have died doing a backflip. However, while the title is technically true, morally, it's a very grey subject that I believe leans towards the negative side. As when you did do the flip, you were in a gym surrounded by crash mats and your cameraman and your friends and the instructor and all the other people in the gym. The likelihood of you getting seriously injured or injured at all, even if you did mess up, is exponentially low. It's not impossible, but the likelihood of happening is very low. And even if you did injure yourself, there would be all your friends, cameramen, personal assistants, staff, and other people at the gym there to help you. Unless you actually did snap your neck, which in turn would have actually meant, yeah, you kind of did die. But if you did die, you probably wouldn't be able to be uploading the video unless, I can't leave this mortal plane until I've rested my soul and I have unfinished business. I must upload this video to YouTube as a ghost. Or maybe your friend took the footage and they already knew your passwords and all that and uploaded it, and that's a very dark truth, but I can see someone doing that if you do that kind of content. But yeah, the likelihood of anyone actually seeing it if you did die, extremely low. About as likely as you actually dying making the content. However, in that situation, that wouldn't be clickbait as much as a very ethical discussion of what it means to use content on this platform. But at least it wouldn't be clickbait. On top of that, this could be applied to almost any subject and still be technically true. For instance, if you're eating a burger, I could have died doing this. Yes, this is true. If you don't chew your food properly, you can choke and you can die. Perhaps you're walking down the street. I could have died doing this. Yeah, who knows? Walking down the street, a stray car could have come out of nowhere and hit you. A bird could have flown down. You could have had an aneurysm. Who knows? You could have died walking down the street. This is also technically true. Even cooking dinner. I could have died doing this. Once again, this is technically true. If you do not properly cook a food, you get food poisoning, which can lead to death. This title is technically true. Perhaps you went swimming. I could have died doing this. Yeah, this is technically true. If you ingest too much water while swimming, you can die. Or maybe you get a leg cramp and sink to the bottom of the ocean. Or pond, or pool, I guess. You can go swimming in many places. If you sink to the bottom of the ocean, yeah, you will die, that's true. But if you're in a swimming pool and you just sink, there's the lifeguards, there's the other swimmers, there's other people, there's the parents. There's many people that could save you. But hey, technically, they could all be distracted by something else. And technically, yes, if you get a leg cramp in the pool, you'll sink to the bottom, you can't get out, you start choking, you suffocate, and you die. So this is technically true. All these subjects are technically true. However, outside of a very small minority of people, I don't think anyone would ever describe the situation in that expression. Where you choose to stand on this level is up to you. Personally, I don't mind it once in a while if it's used in a comedic self-mockery way, where if you are titling something like that, the audience who watches your content is aware of the kind of content you make, and they know you are making a joke out of the content, where the audience is aware you are being overly dramatic for comedic value. I don't mind this. I think it can be funny when people will take it to an extreme in a jokey manner. I think that's funny. What I do mind though is when the video implies seriousness, where someone is actively saying, this video is not a joke, this title is serious, this is important. Such as certain people on this platform who tailor their content towards well, they don't say they do, but it just so happens their content happens to be appealing to a younger demographic, even though they say they're not targeting that demographic, despite what they do in their videos. And they tell their videos something along the lines of, my life is in danger! Watch this if you want me to live! That sort of stuff. Where the only danger in the video is if you don't buy all my merch, these boxes will keep piling up and then they make a trip happen, and if the boxes fall over and crush me, then I'll die. My life is in danger. Quickly, go to my website and buy my merch. Otherwise, I'm going to be crushed by these boxes. I'm going to die and it'll be your fault. Please, go buy my merch to save my life. Even though, even if you did get crushed by a box of your merch, there are people going in and out of your house every single day. There's your PR team, there's your crew, there's your cameramen, there's your editors, there's probably your public relations person, there's probably other YouTubers, there's probably other creators, there's probably many people, there's your house cleaners, there's your maids, there's your cooks, there's your gardeners. Every single day there's people going in and out of your house, and every single day they'll be there. So even if you did get crushed by your boxes and they happen to fall on you and you get stuck there for 10 hours, the next morning someone's going to come along and go, oh damn, you're stuck under a box. Let me lift that up. There we go, you're free. But still, this title technically isn't lying. There is a possibility that all this merch becomes a trip hazard, the box fall over and they crush you, and no one comes to your house in the, let's say, 2 to 4 weeks it's going to take to slowly suffocate to death, and no one notices that you haven't uploaded in that time, or no one knows you haven't messaged them, or no one notices that no one's interacted with you for an entire month. Even though chances are you have your phone in your pocket, you just go, well, I better just go tell someone, hey, I'm stuck under a box. But yeah, technically you could have your phone in the other room, or it's just out of reach or something like that. So technically, yes, if these boxes did fall on you and no one came to see you for an entire month and you didn't have your phone on you and no one noticed, yes, that does mean your life is in danger. So technically, the title's not a lie. Of course, if you have enough money for merch, you could always just, book out a storage locker or something, or put it in the garage, or put it somewhere that you won't trip over it, or even put it in your spare house that most people have at this point, because merch. But technically it's not lying, but it's just as likely as me titling this video like saying, I'm gonna guess your name right on the first try. I mean, technically I could be right. I just need that one time to be right, and technically I wasn't wrong. Technically I guessed your name right. Isn't that right, Mike? See, even though I was wrong every other one of the times, I guessed it right just once. I wasn't talking to the rest of you, I was talking to Mike. Isn't that right, Mike? See, not technically a lie, because I guessed Mike's name right on the first try. I wasn't talking to the rest of you, I was talking to Mike. Then there's layer 4. These are the theories. Much like the previous layer, these can be a morally grey subject, and I don't really have a backflip metaphor for this, so let's just change the subject for a moment, shall we? Let's cast our mind back to 2 years ago when Spider-Man No Way Home came out, or before it came out rather. The biggest piece of evidence to suggest there were additional characters in the movie that have been edited out is in the final fight. In the trailer, we see Lizard get punched by something, even though Spider-Man is very clearly not able to hit him from that distance. So it seems possible that something else has been edited out, such as another character, that suggests that there are more characters in the movie that haven't been revealed yet. This led hundreds, thousands, if not tens of thousands of videos to spread over the platform with a title something along the lines of Amazing Spider-Man and Raimi Spider-Man confirmed in No Way Home? Question mark. Now, cast your mind back to before we actually had the answer, and the internet was ablaze with infighting. The photos prove Andrew Garfield's in it. Those pictures are photoshopped. Toby said he wasn't returning. The footage clearly has people photoshopped out of it. It's clearly other Spider-Men. Daredevil is the lawyer. Daredevil still belongs to Netflix. That is totally Charlie Cox's body. I would know that body anywhere, even if it is blurred out. Charlie said he wasn't returning. Wait, what? Yada, yada, yada. The argument kept going on. So if someone released a video saying, Andrew Garfield confirmed in No Way Home, and the video just went, I've got a friend of a friend who was out drinking with his mates and his sister's boyfriend was working on the set. He said that it was true, so it's obviously true. That can't really be considered confirmed, even as a theory. It's more, I want it to be true, I think it's cool, so I'm saying it's true. However, if the video had instead said something along the lines of, seeing as the footage shows Lizard being punched, there's a high probability that at least one other character has been edited out of the footage. Add this to the fact that we know we're getting Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, as well as Green Goblin Willem Dafoe, and what appears to be Thomas Church Sandman, who are all characters that appeared in the original Tobey Maguire Raimi trilogy. It makes sense that if there is another Spider-Man, it is Tobey Maguire. By that same argument though, we also know we're getting Jamie Foxx Electro and what appears to be Lizard, who are characters that appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man, which also makes sense in context of the movie, as Lizard is fighting something and is punched by an unknown source as of now, which if it is the same universe as the Amazing Spider-Man, it makes sense that the one he is fighting is the Amazing Spider-Man universe, which would mean Andrew Garfield. Of course, it could be that there's other characters from the MCU fighting in the same movie and this is their first appearance in the series, so they didn't reveal the secrets yet, so they blurred them out or removed them from the footage. However, seeing as we know we're getting Multiverse of Madness, this is a logical argument that this is the catalyst that leads to the multiverse, which is the first crossover of Spider-Man. Which isn't even to mention the photos currently circulating around the internet are claimed to be leaked footage from behind the scenes that show very clearly Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in their suits on a blue screen. For that reason and more, I believe there is a strong argument to be made that we will be seeing additional Spider-Man in No Way Home, including Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. That would be a well-argued theory with valid points that can be backed up with logical reasoning. Of course, it's not confirmed, but it's a very compelling argument. So once again, while this is clickbait and misleading, whether or not it can be considered purposely misleading is a morally grey subject. Then there's layer 5, which is a very interesting level of clickbait, and depending on how you use it, depends on how morally grey it is. That probably didn't make much sense, did it? Don't worry, I'll explain it, but we have to talk about layer 6 first. Layer 6 is the purposely misleading or half-truth level of clickbait. For instance, if you titled your video something along the lines of, I survived falling out of a 1,000-meter tall tree, where the thumbnail shows someone desperately hanging onto a branch for their dear life and scared of falling out of it. Oh no, they're gonna die! So you click on the video and the first few minutes of the video are the uploader waking up on camera, even though that would imply they left their camera running the entire night just to capture the first few seconds of them waking up with their perfectly kept hair even after a night of sleeping like that. Either that or they had their friend come into their room before they woke up, set up an entire camera and the lighting perfectly focused at them, press record and go, okay, it's 6:55, he's gonna wake up in 5 minutes, start recording, there we go. That's actually a possibility. It's a bit creepy, but hey, that is actually a valid argument there. But yeah, after they've totally woken up on camera for real, they take us through their morning routine, showing us them preparing their breakfast, telling us how they're super excited for today's video and how they're visiting a forest. Oh no, that's a prelude to how dangerous it's gonna get. He's going to a forest, that's how it happened. As well as, probably ask people to smash that like button, destroy that subscribe button, share with all your friends and see if we can get to 10,000 likes. Or something like that. And then there's a 2-minute time lapse of them driving their car to the forest. Hey, we're about 5 minutes into the video now, but we still haven't quite got to the forest. But hey, he's driving to the forest. Oh, he's just got to the forest. Right, let's watch him in the forest. Wait, no, first there's 2 mid-roll ads. After which the footage shows them walking through the forest and drinking a totally not sponsored drink that just so happens to always have the label facing the camera. Then they find a few trees and climb them. One of the trees, the uploader kind of slips when climbing on the lowest branch. And then they spend the last 2 minutes once again telling you to absolutely annihilate that subscribe button, smash that like button, and pulverize that share button, and leave a comment, as well as buying all their merch. And the video ends with, of course, 2 more ads. Now, some may say the title was misleading or even lying. But they're wrong. The title didn't lie. See, nowhere in the thumbnail or title does it specifically say they fell from the top of a 1,000-meter tall tree. Just that they did fall out of a 1,000-meter tall tree. It just so happened that fall happened to be from the lowest branch on the tree. And it was a tiny little slip that, had about that much distance from the ground. But, technically, the thumbnail's still true. Of course, the actual thumbnail didn't actually appear in the video, so they had to go back and, pose for it and make it look like they were hanging for their dear lives. So that could be considered misleading, but nowhere did it actually say it fell from the top of the tree. Technically, the thumbnail and title were true. They did fall out of a 1,000-meter tall tree, and they did survive. It just happened to be from the lowest branch. However, if I were to say something along the lines of, I have a bunch of Steam game codes to give away for the new popular game, and I'm giving a reward to the first 100 people who like, share, and subscribe to the video and leave a comment saying I subbed. suddenly my engagement, my likes, my views, my shares, and my subscriber base would skyrocket. And I'd get a ton of comments saying, I subbed. And for the first 100 people who did that, I gave them the reward of a heart. Woo! Yay! I gave them a reward. I gave them the heart. Yeah! Yeah, that was the reward. Huh? Oh, you thought the reward was going to be a Steam code for the new popular game? Why would you think that? What? No. Come, sit down. Nah. I didn't say I was giving away the Steam codes to the first 100 people who subscribe. No. I said I have a bunch of Steam codes to give away for the new popular game. Pause. And I am giving a reward to the first 100 people who like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment saying I subbed. These are two separate statements. It just so happened I said one directly after the other. They're completely unrelated though. I didn't lie. No, I didn't lie. I didn't lie in my video. No. That's not a lie. It's just you didn't understand. I said two statements. I have a bunch of Steam codes, and I'm giving a reward. Completely unrelated though. This is a very morally grey subject, where I know exactly where I stand on it. I think it's wrong and exploitative. Much like with the exaggerative thumbnail level, I think once in a while, as long as the watchers who are aware of the kind of content the creator makes knows this is a comedic joke where they are joking about the subject and they are very clearly making a joke that the watcher is aware of, I think it's fine once in a while. It can be funny in that kind of sense, such as titling a video, I could have died doing this, and the thumbnail is just someone with like a paper cut or something, it's in an exaggerated manner, then yeah, I don't mind that. However, for those who actively use this kind of method, this level of clickbait in an unironic manner where they use it pretty much every video and are being serious about it, where they're pretending they're being completely serious and it's not very clearly extremely exaggerated for engagement reasons, I think it's wrong and exploitative. And for those who do this, you know exactly what you're doing. Don't pretend you don't. But now that we've talked about layer 6, let's circle back around and talk about layer 5. Layer 5 is the engagement level of clickbait, which is normally done by utilising the sunk cost fallacy ideology, which is done by leaving something in the unknown. Originally, I did want to break this video up into two parts to help punctuate my point to reinforce this ideology, but I'd rather just do this in one big video. But for this section, pretend this is a second video where I've broken up into two parts and you're watching the fresh new video because it helps punctuate my point. In the previous video, I proposed the question of what is clickbait? But at no point did I ever say that it was only a first part of many videos. When you clicked on the video, you believed you were getting the whole video in one. But at the end of the video, I left on a cliffhanger saying, hey, if you want to find out about layer 5, click this video here. I left the previous video on an unanswered question. I did, however, mention that layer 5 was a fascinating and interesting layer though. However, I never directly said what it was in the previous video. And if you actually wanted to find out what it was, you had to watch this second video. But of course, with anything, whenever there is anything in the world, there will always be those who try to game the system to get an upper hand by using underhanded methods. For instance, in the first part of the video, I left on a cliffhanger about talking about layer 5. I piqued your interest and then left you hanging. So of course, in order to find out what layer 5 is, you click on this video and you want to find out what layer 5 was immediately. But before I did that, I talked about layer 6 first. I got you watching, I got you engaged in the video, and I got your watch time. And I told you, hey, keep watching this video and I'll tell you what layer 5 is. But first, I'm going to talk about this completely other subject, layer 6. And in order to find out what layer 5 is, you have to watch layer 6 first. I got you to keep watching, even though you wanted the answer to layer 5, I made you watch layer 6 first. In the case of intentional clickbait though, there are normally these 8 to 12 minute long videos saying something along the lines of, explaining subject X. And you see and you think, you know what, I'm interested in that subject, and it's only 8 to 10 minutes long. I can watch that, sure, that's interesting. I want to know about that subject. It's only 10 minutes of my life. However, in reality, that 8 to 12 minute long video is just the introduction to the subject that raises all the questions you want answered to. And in order to find out the answer, you have to watch the whole 2-hour long video that's actually the second part. But at that point, you're already invested. You've already spent 12 minutes watching this content, so you have to find out the answers. You're invested. You've put time into this. You have to find out the answers. If you just leave now, you've wasted time. You've wasted 12 minutes and you're never getting back, so might as well watch the whole 2 hours. Or another method of using the unanswered questions certain creators use is, if this video gets to insert arbitrary number here that allows me to brag about how successful my videos are, and by extension how amazing of a creator I am, which I can pretend means I'm better than everyone else, because I tie people's worth to the amount of numbers they have, even though the only reason my videos are successful is because on one side of the spectrum, I'm essentially manipulating my audience into doing as I say by claiming I'll withhold content. And on the other side, I'm essentially begging likes and insert same sentiment as before here. Comments, I'll release part 2! The part that actually contains the thing you're watching the video for, whether it be what was in the thumbnail, the answer to something that was said or shown, or maybe another reason. I don't like this. Despite this, if people do want to do this, I do understand why. YouTube is a hard place to be. And if you're at the point where your entire income balances on whether or not you get views or not, I can understand why some people choose to do this. But in a lot of cases, regardless of whether or not the video does well, the creator will be fine. And they just want numbers for reasons. Sticking to our backflip metaphor, on this level, it would be titling your video something along the lines of, finally doing that flip. Where once again the video would obviously be 10 minutes and 1 second long. I wonder why. The opening clip would probably be them lining up the flip, maybe even showing them doing the run-up. And then right before the jump, the video would cut back to them most likely at home, talking about how they've been practicing doing their flips. The rest of the video would then be clips of them training to do the flip and the steps they took, intercut with the creator talking to the camera, probably reminding you to like, share, subscribe and comment. Which, if you are enjoying my content, and then the video ends, and if you want to actually see them do the flip, you have to click on the next video. Overall, I don't think this is an inherent bad use of clickbait, provided you're not doing it maliciously. Of course, if you're just making an entirely unnecessary video to get extra watch time, where the entire video could have been scrapped and you showed the actual second part on its own, don't do that. Just show them the content. If you're making a video titled, finally doing that flip, show that flip in the video. And if you also do want to upload the footage of you training and failing and learning to do the flip, sure, also do that. But also make it one big video. Or make it an extra video that the viewer doesn't have to watch first. Have as a bonus after video, like, hey, I managed to do the flip in this video, but if you want to watch the weeks it took me to practice doing this, you can click on this video right here. I think it'd be a fascinating video to actually watch a creator slowly do a thing and fail again and again and slowly get better. It would humanize them, which I'm aware a lot of creators don't want to be done. They just want to be seen as this perfect creator that can do anything on the first try. This is one of the reasons I leave a lot of my mistakes and tangents in my video, because I am not perfect. I'm just an entity who has a passion for talking about these subjects. I have no interest in being considered a video essayist who perfectly delivers. I messed up the line. But yes, as I just said, I don't want to be seen as a video essayist who is perfect, who never messes up a line, who delivers every single line in perfect succession and never takes a breath, and I cut out every little breath in my editing so it's one long thing so you never have a chance to click away, who never made a single mistake and told the entire 3-hour-long script in one long breath without a single mistake. Nah, I'm just an entity who wants to talk to you guys and humanize myself. Those video essay videos, for every 1 minute of content they have, there's probably about 5 minutes of messed up lines, of screw-ups, of retakes, of mistakes. For every full video, there's probably about 10 hours plus of scrap footage, of their mistakes, of their mess-ups, of their redos. This isn't to fling anything at them. They're human. They make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It's just the fact that I don't want to be seen as perfect because I am not, and that is an unrealistic standard that people aspire to. I make mistakes. I'm fallible. I think that's the right word. In fact, that may be the wrong word. Fallible, is that the right word? Description. Fallible. Is this the right description? My videos are just, hey, here is a subject I am passionate about and here are my thoughts on it. As if a mate sitting in a coffee shop talking to you. Not as if a perfect presenter on the screen, never making a mistake, reading the line perfectly and never messing up. No, I just want to be seen as like a mate chatting to you about this subject I care about. Going back to our backflips though, in showing the failed attempts, you as the watcher get to see them grow and feel as if you're growing with them along the journey. Maybe it took them hours, maybe it took them days, maybe it took them weeks, maybe it took them months to master this skill, this flip, this activity. However, by showing the mistakes, you feel as if you've also come along this journey, you've watched them grow. Sure, once again, labeling the video something like, finally mastering that flip, is clickbaity, but it goes back to layer 1 of baiting the hook. It's simply saying, look, this is something interesting. Don't you want to watch it? Instead of going, haha, I tricked you. You see that thing in the thumbnail that I advertised? That doesn't actually appear in this video. I lied to you. I tricked you. I just wanted to get your watch time. If you want to find out what it is, you have to watch another of my videos. Haha, I tricked you. Then there's layer 7. And layer 7... Layer 7 is just lying. This is straight up when the thumbnail or title very clearly lies. For instance, even if you did the flip in a gym, you instead photoshopped yourself on top of a skyscraper, on top of the bars of a construction site, on a very dangerous place, doing the flip in midair, and you tell your video something like, only 0.01% of people were able to do this. Wait, no, that wasn't dramatic enough. In this situation, on this level, it would be something along the lines of, only 0.000000001% of people have ever done this. Impossible flip, never before seen, must watch. Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark, impossible flip mastered, finally. Despite the fact that, in the video, as I said, you are just in a gym. You're not on top of a skyscraper. You're not doing an impossible flip. You are in a gym, on padded floor, being taught by someone who has already done the flip. This is not clickbait. This is lying. And this is what the vast majority of clickbait is labelled as. They're not though. So let's answer the questions raised at the start of this video. Is this level of clickbait more acceptable than this level of clickbait? Is all clickbait created equal? Are cliffhangers technically clickbait? And can this really be considered clickbait? So, is clickbait always bad? This is a complex answer, but I think the best answer is no. Clickbait isn't inherently bad. It is how it is used that determines whether or not it is bad, which I think is best exemplified when we actually look at the layers of clickbait. So let's quickly recap them. Layer 1, baiting the hook. This level is doing something that would make you want to click. Most likely making the title something they have to watch the video to get the answer to. Layer 2, exaggerated truths. This level is when the title is still true, just a bit exaggerated. Such as saying, I died laughing at this, which clearly isn't true, but sounds far better than, I found this video quite funny, it caused me to laugh a lot. Layer 3, technically true titles. This level is when the titles are technically true, but they could have been easily titled something else far less extreme or exaggerated. Layer 4, theories. Theories are an interesting one, as if they believe their theories are right, they can say confirmed or something along those lines in the title without technically lying. It is still clickbait, but more often than not, it's not malicious. Layer 5 is when the reason you click on the video, or what was shown in the thumbnail, is either right at the end of the video or in part 2 of the video. So you watched an entire video that you didn't actually want to, just to not get the information that you clicked on it for, forcing you to sink more time into the creator's channel and watch another video of theirs to most likely get the answer, or in some cases have to watch even another video to get the answers. Layer 6, purposely misleading or half-truths. Layer 6 is where the title isn't technically lying, but is clearly avoiding some context, such as no parachute cliff dive, and the thumbnail showed the person mid-air diving off an actual cliff that actually does appear in the video. However, in reality, it should have read no parachute cliff dive into the sand castles we built on the beach about 2 meters below the cliff, which in reality does actually sound quite fun, diving off a cliff into sand castles. However, in most cases, this level of clickbait is far less innocent. And then there's layer 7, which is straight up lying. Either showing photoshopped thumbnails of content that doesn't appear in the video, or the video is very clearly fake, but they act as if it's totally real. Normally to the tune of, if you don't like, share, subscribe and comment and tell your friends and buy my merch, something bad is going to happen to me. I'm going to die by the end of the video if you don't do that. In this pre-recorded video that was recorded at an earlier date, which in order for one to be able to watch the footage means the video must have been able to be completed and uploaded and edited in an editing software, and then created the thumbnail and uploaded, and now one is watching it, which in itself is complete. These are the 7 levels of clickbait, which originally were only 4 layers, but I've unintentionally kind of made the 7 deadly sins of clickbait, which I think is hilarious. Also, I think I've made it this far in the video without swearing, which is actually quite impressive. But now that we have the definition, can we answer, is all clickbait created equal? The simple, very clear answer I think should be is no. Not all clickbait is created equal. Creating a video and title that says something along the lines of, hey, here's a video that I really enjoyed making and was really passionate about, but I understand that in order for you to click on my video I need to kind of entice you over the hundreds of thousands of other videos being suggested on a daily basis. So I'm going to make my video something nice and eye-catching, maybe a little exaggerated, but overall telling the truth of the subject. Maybe something with a question in it that makes you want to click on the video to find out the answer. I don't know. As opposed to, click on this video because I'm lying to you. That thumbnail, that's fake. I photoshopped it because I want to trick you into watching. And that title's a lie too. That doesn't happen in this video, but by the time you figure that out and you've already watched the video, I've got your watch time, and that's all that matters. Because that's all I care about. Numbers, fame, and money. By all means though, if you do want to lie to your audience, go right ahead. I am not the arbiter of your kind of content. If that is the kind of content you want to make where you mislead your audience to get views and virality and short-term success, by all means, go for that. Just be aware the likelihood of it being short-term success will be that it is short-term success. And even if your content is amazing, it's made under false pretexts. If you don't believe your video is actually good enough to stand on its own and you feel the need to lie in your thumbnail or title to get people to click on it, then you don't respect your own work, you don't respect yourself. And that's sad. But let's be honest. If someone's using layer 7 of clickbait where they're just lying to their audience, chances are their content isn't very good. And eventually will become their downfall, as everyone will know this creator just lies in their thumbnail. They're not telling the truth. That's a lie thumbnail. That's just an over-exaggerated, mad thumbnail that lies. It's not true. They're just being exaggerative to get views. It's not real. It's the boy who cries wolf. Eventually, everyone will just know them as a liar. They'll know that they make their thumbnails fake. They know that their thumbnails aren't real. And because of that, no one's going to click on their videos. So no matter what the creator uploads, even if the video actually is the best video you will ever watch ever, even if that's completely true, they have a history of lying. They have a history of making fake clickbaity videos. They have a history of lying to their audience. So why should they believe you now? Even if they do go straight and change their content to honest, real content, and it is amazing content, it's hard to get back to that point, because if they've lied for so long, it takes a lot more work to get someone's trust back than just being honest in the first place. And in some cases, you will never get their trust back because you've let them down too many times through lying just to try and get their views. On top of that, if they were to go straight and make honest content, they would see a massive drop in their viewers and watch time, because suddenly their virality is being shown and people aren't just clicking on their videos out of curiosity, even though they're finding out that it's not true. Even so, they still get that watch time and click, which would most likely push them back into making clickbaity, easy view content. As I said a moment ago, while you will probably grow a lot faster, like massively faster, by using these underhanded, shortcut and cheap tricks where you're just hunting for virality, it's not sustainable in the long run, and overall it will probably cause your channel to crash just as quickly as it grew, if not faster. Whereas if you treat your community with honest thumbnails, with honest videos, with honest titles, where you talk to them and actually respect them and don't just see them as viewers or numbers or something to use to get growth, you will build a much more solid foundation of a channel, a much more sustainable channel. Sure, the growth will be slow, most likely. You may be extreme lucky and grow fast, but realistically, yes, the growth will be very slow. Maybe years of content to get anywhere. However, the community around your channel that you will have built over that time will be a solid foundation who are there for your content. And in the long run, you'll be able to foster a community around your channel that won't just disappear if you make one not so popular video, where they won't disappear if they make one video you don't like, because they know there's more content on the way. You will know those who are on your channel are there for your content, not just because you lied and baited them into watching your videos. Because subscribers are real people, and I don't want anyone to ever forget that. Especially me. I'm talking to myself kind of here, but also to any creator out there, any creator, big or small. I don't care how big or small your channel is, whether you got 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, or even 10 million subscribers. Look at me. Look at me in the eyes. Listen to this fact. Don't ever forget those are not just numbers. That is 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, or even 10 million people. Actual people who've chosen to subscribe. Granted, some of them may be bots or dead accounts, but they are actual people. Every single subscriber, every person, every single number that you have to thank for your success, every single view, subscriber, comment, and like is a real person. And you owe them everything. So don't ever fucking forget that. They are real people. They are not just numbers. Anyway, back to clickbait. By using layer 7 of clickbait, they'll become known as a creator who uses clickbait, and no one will watch. Or, you know, they'll target their content towards a much younger audience who don't know any better, and they're happy to manipulate their audience into watching their video because they believe they're getting something out of it because they're young and inexperienced and don't know how the world works. But in reality, they're getting nothing of substance out of this worthless video. They just clickbait them into watching a video. They're actually just lying to their audience, but hey, kids don't know any better, so they believe the creator's being honest. All clickbait is not created equal. And a creator who ever so slightly exaggerates the truth of their video for more likely getting click versus someone who is straight up lying to the audience should not be penalised the same. And while we're talking about lying to your community, can lying really be considered clickbait? Annoyingly, yes. Clickbait and lying can be considered the same thing. I wanted to make an argument for how those who lie in their videos should be called out for it, and that clickbait and lying are not the same thing. But sadly, lying is a form of clickbait. If you get someone to click on your video, doesn't matter how you do it, that is clickbait. Even if you're lying, if you got someone to click on your video, you've succeeded in your goal. You've baited them into clicking your video. Therefore, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if people are actually enjoying your video. It doesn't matter if people are leaving comments saying this video sucks. It doesn't even matter if people are disliking the video. It is all engagement that YouTube sees as a good thing. As a system, as an algorithm, it sees, hey, this video gains some extreme engagement, I should push it to more people. And in a lot of cases, that is all that kind of creator cares about. I've got a bigger number than you, aren't I great? Look how fantastic I am. I'm worth of like, my life has value now. I can say I'm important. I'm better than other people because I have a big number. I'm so great. My number's so big. I've got a big number because that's all that matters. I'm important. Yeah. And hey, even if that kind of creator is called out for clickbaiting or lying in their thumbnail, they can just change the thumbnail and change the title and say, hey, those person's lying. That picture's photoshopped. I never had that thumbnail. That's not real. They're just trying to cause drama in my scene. They're lying about me. And if they're big enough career, they can just, use their audience to say, nah, they're lying. That never happened. And that sucks. That's a sad truth for the world. And then the final question. Are cliffhangers clickbait? Well, if you want to find out, be sure to click on... I'm joking. And yes, I think cliffhangers are clickbait. However, I don't think it's malicious clickbait, unless you use it maliciously. Cliffhangers are just being the hook. It's level 1 of clickbait. It's saying, don't you want to know what they're looking at? Don't you want to know what they found in the box? Don't you want to know what they said to him? Don't you want to know if they're okay? Don't you want to know the reveal? Well, in order to find out, you need to pay to watch the next movie. You need to watch the next episode. You need to read the next chapter. You need to buy the next game. You need to engage with my media to find out more, where maybe you'll be rewarded. And then when it is revealed, it's normally revealed in the first few minutes of the episode. But by the time you found out the cliffhanger, you've already been told more information that in order to find out, you need to watch the rest of the episode, or play the rest of the game, or watch the next movie, or read the next chapter. I mean, you could easily just put the book down, close the laptop, stop playing the game, walk away. You have your answer. But now you want the other answer that was raised before you got your first answer. So you keep watching, you keep reading, you keep playing, you keep watching the movie, and you get to the end, and there's another cliffhanger for the next book, movie, game, video, whatever. So in order to find that one out, now you need to watch the next video, read the next book, play the next game, watch the next movie. And you do that again and again, and cliffhangers keep you watching more, reading more, playing more. Overall, I don't really think this is most cases malicious. There are very few situations I can think of that this is really, I would say, malicious. The worst case I can think of is The Hobbit, where it's very clear they cut off is it the first or second movie? I watched all three because, it drove me. I think it's the second movie, yeah. They cut off the last 10 minutes of the second movie and stitched onto the first 10 minutes of the third movie. This just doesn't really work. Like, you could have just had it on the second movie, but no, they had to have it on the third movie. Everything's resolved in like 10 minutes and this movie goes on. But no, they had to keep the movie engaging. If you want to find out what happened to the village, you need to watch the third movie. That is egregious. That is malicious clickbait. That is malicious cliffhanging. But in most cases, it's just, hey, we are a form of media. We've spent money printing these books. We've spent money making these games. We spent money animating these shows, filming this thing, paying an editor. You're enjoying the content, you want more? Sure, you can watch more. And let me just kind of entice you to want to watch more. I mean, Netflix is probably the worst for this, where auto plays without even having to press anything. Sneaky. Keeps your engagement. But yeah, I've definitely binged a few series unintentionally because Netflix is like, do you want to watch the next episode? Well, you're watching the next episode. Well, I might as well watch the next episode. I could get up, press pause, but by the time I've already watched, the next episode's already playing, and well, whatever. But that's my argument. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Do you think my points were valid? Do you think they're invalid? Do you have another argument? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, before we finish the video, let's do a subscriber check-in. As of making this video, the channel had this many subscribers. This has been a really fun one to make. I'm looking forward to editing this, which is something I don't rarely say because I used to hate my editing software, but now that I'm using Premiere Pro, I'm really excited. Like doing all this stuff, and like I'm just on my actual like screen here. There's nothing actually here, but editing it, I've got so many fun ideas for how I'm going to do this, and I really hope I edited this fun. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, see ya. Thanks for watching.